halt conversation on this right now, and we will move into the public hearing. It's 5:15 to hear comments regarding the draft of the 2024 to 2028 Highway Capital Improvement.
Good evening.
Mr. Hill.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We have a short presentation I'd like to give you, like I do every year. It looks like Scott's bringing it, of course not. You want me to run the mouse?
I'll let you control things in there. You go actually.
We did put notice in the Owatonna People's Press that we've been holding a public hearing tonight. It's been on our website several weeks. So as we do every year, we'll just run through this as quickly as possible. So yes, this is the public hearing. Or well, I should say this is, because you haven't opened the public hearing. So when I'm done with the presentation, we'll open the public hearing. There we go. As some background, our annual funding for construction have about $3.8 million of state aid, which is regular construction is outside of the small municipality. And we get about $350,000 a year for construction within the small municipality, which is classified as a city of 5,000 or less population. Our sales tax revenues are running about $3.5 million a year, and in order to amend the use of the sales tax, this public hearing is required. Maintenance overlays, we put about $1.3 million of state aid maintenance dollars into annually. Wheelage tax, around $750,000. And our state bridge funds and township bridge funds vary every year depending on if there's bridges ready to go and if there's state bridge bonding money available. So our revenue side is just under $10 million annually. Some more background information, our average pavement condition index, MnDOT comes in and rates our pavements every other year. The green is our county road system, and the blue is the county state aid system, the red being the total of the two. You'll notice the green is coming down a little tiny bit. In about 2010, the county bonded and paved a number of miles, which I don't have off the top of my head, of straight county road because they didn't have other money sources to do that, so they bonded. So we're about 13 years later, we're expecting to see some downward movement on those pavements. But, we do, like I said, we rate them every other year and we incorporate when an overlay is required into the program, and it's really guided by this information. So as we see, our state aid system is still on the upward climb. And I'd say again, the upward movement started shortly after the county board implemented the half cent sales tax in the county. So it's definitely gone to good purpose. This is kind of the total system, looking at where the pavements are percentage-wise, in which category. The ratings are from 0 to 100, and the fair condition starts around the 60, and good is well, 75 to 80, and the very good is above that. Because of the county system, we see a slight dip in the good and very good categories, but still more than 90% of our pavements are fair, good, or very good. So we're in pretty good shape there. And the pavement conditions drive a lot of the program dollars into the pavement rehab projects. Our draft plan includes the map, for a quick visual of where the projects are located and what kind. You can't see it very well here, but on the online version, it comes out pretty nicely. But I'll jump in. I generally just cover the following calendar year because, right, we come back every year. The 2024 projects are the ones that get incorporated into the budget that you'll adopt in next month. So we don't have any reconstruction projects programmed for next year or reconstruction. So we'll start out with our pavement rehab projects that we're proposing, which Facade 12 and 23 up on the west side of the city of Medford, kind of out in front of the Medford Mall, and up to the corner that starts heading west on 23. Those pavements are falling apart. We're looking at the roundabouts, the metro roundabouts, because those are our responsibility for pavement maintenance there. But it presents some complexities that we can work through with MnDOT. We'll probably include it since we were there. And then Casat 37 is a east-west route on the east side of the county. Last year we did a lot of culvert, call them drainage rehab, but we replaced a lot of the centerline culverts out there, getting it ready for the pavement rehab project. So that will go next spring. Operational and safety improvement projects. We have a highway safety improvement program project, rural intersection lighting. These intersections were identified in our county road safety plan from 2012. They're what are classified as priority intersections. So they looked at a number of criteria to identify these locations. Number of crashes were one of those criteria. So 36 intersections are currently proposed to get rural intersection lighting. Casat 2 or Hoffman Drive at Interstate 35. The signal maintenance project, we have a local partnership program project with MnDOT. They'll be paying a good portion of this project. Glorified Maintenance will paint the system, which hasn't been painted since it was installed. And we'll do some other minor maintenance things, and we're adding battery backup system to this signal system, which doesn't have it. And then our South 34, which is also 26th Street at Landmark Drive. We've been talking about medium modifications there for a few years now, and we think this is the year that we'll get that done. I referred to drainage rehab projects previously. Again, we'll go in and on 23 between South 34, which is 26th Street, up to our Casat 12, we're actually going to try culvert lining. They have an infrared technology that you push the liner in, you secure it with the infrared, and it's got great strength, and a number of our neighboring counties have been using it with very good success. So we're going to give that a try. And Casat 28 down by Beaver Lake, we're going to reconstruction and pavement rehab is in the further out years, so we're going to go in and replace our culverts on that section of road next year.
Mr. Chair, Greg, back to, I think it was Landmark Drive, the previous slide. Is that's 26th Street?
Casat 34 is 26th Street, so it's the quick trip intersection.
So is there, I think we talked about this, maybe a sidewalk possibly at some point?
If the city wants to incorporate that into that project, I think we could probably work with them to do that.
All right. Thank you.
Greg, is that liner work in concrete and metal culvert?
Yes. Generally, the concrete, it's the seams that will start to corrode, so it's not so much the strength there, but in the steel culverts that corrode, it's definitely the strength that we're looking for. And then the last drainage project would be Stop 43 on the east side between Kunkai 14 and Casat 8, getting that ready for pavement rehab either in 25 or 26. Our bridge replacements next year, we have funding in place for 74562, which is west of here on County Road 62 over Crane Creek, which is a posted timber structure, so we'll be glad to get that out of there. And then pending state bridge bonding, we have one on Casat 6 and one on Casat 28. The one on 28 is just south of the Beaver Lake curves. Then if we have enough town bridge funding, we'll get the next two in, which are on the north side of the county. Which, yeah, town bridge funding is it's either there or it's not. So it's kind of like refunding. Our overlay project for next year will be on Casat 8 from Casat 77, which we renumbered this year, so that used to be 34. And then SOT 12. And the maintenance staff has been doing a lot of pothole patching up on that section this year. Our total construction for 2024 is just over 12 million. And the difference between that and the revenue that we got generally comes out either of the sales tax fund balance or the, I'm not sure what we call it, the road and bridge fund balance. They both go into the fund balance, but sales tax specifically has to be accounted for. Its own funding amount can only be used on construction projects. Whereas the other fund balance is kind of out of the general budget, any budget savings we have, any project savings kind of thing. That 2.6 million is probably a combination of both of those, both of those things. Looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, in the program, SOT 28 reconstruction down there through the park coming up. Of course, the big one, east side corridor. Last year at this time, we were looking at maybe starting construction in 2025. The new program you see shows it starting in 2026. Everything takes longer than we ever expect. SOT 48, which is Main Street, Owatonna, we've wrapped up a feasibility study there. Talking with the city, it's probably a little further out, 2027 construction, when they can afford to do it. That's a big project. And then hopefully within the next year or so, we'll start a feasibility study of 43 at County Road 180 intersection, which is the Havana intersection out there. That's our highest crash rate intersection. So we want to come up with a solution to address those crashes and then implement it. So it won't be too far beyond 2025.
And that needs to be prioritized. That's a tough area. We need to address that.
And then another one would be,
Yeah, that's a mess.
the last one shown there is the County Road 180 bridges at the railroad in Isaac Wall Creek because of that deteriorating structure under 180. We've had feasibility studies going on that one as well. And then future considerations, still just kind of keep it on our radar as we got the north and west belt lines that probably more development driven up there in the northwest part of the city. SOT 23 realignment around the hospital. And then if you drive Hoffman, the concrete pavements out there are getting into be tough shape, so we'll want to look at that corridor and figure out what we want to do. And then, yeah, we talked about open cedar for a while. Probably those will probably start getting on the radar a little more so here in the next few years.
So in what respect?
As the pavements start to,
So just a rehab of what's currently there, not change the configuration or?
well, I would say we'll probably end up doing a feasibility study to say, this is what we've got, what should it be, including all public input, engagement. And I particularly think of Hoffman out there that goes, west. When it was a trunk highway that MnDOT came in, they had a 4-lane divided highway all the way out to 39 John. And, that's not supported today by traffic. So that'd be something we want to look at is there's a lot of right around there. And, what's the section we want? We want a 3-lane, 5-lane divided highway, parkway. There's lots of options on it. To reconstruct just what's out there today on Hoffman, I think costs a lot of money for it to kind of be overbuilt. Yeah, at the end of the public hearing, if I want to reemphasize any spoken comments, you can fill our comment board, or you can send us comments at our highway email address, or give us a call at the shop. We'll take any comments. We've taken several today. Scott, well, during the public hearing, we'll read some of those. I That concludes our presentation.
Any questions or comments for Greg?
No.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Now we will open the public hearing on the 2024 to 2028 highway plan. And I will reiterate a message from the public comment period so everybody understands what that's about. Those wishing to speak must state their name and address for the record. After they're acknowledged by the board chair, each person will be limited to 2 minutes to make his or her comments. Speakers will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. The board may not take action on an item presented during the public comment period unless the item has already been mentioned on the agenda for action. When appropriate, the board may refer inquiries and items brought up during the public comment period to the county administrator for follow-up. And we would appreciate you coming up to the podium with the microphone so we can pick it up so it'll all be recorded tonight. That way it'll all be on public record. So anybody wishing to make public comment tonight.
Good evening, Matt Sennett, 2519 Stony Creek Drive. Here to talk about the East Side Corridor project, which is being proposed at 29th Avenue, which is alongside a fully developed neighborhood on the south and north sides. When I think of Owatonna, I think of families, a safe, great town to raise kids in, parks, nature, beauty, a growing town with charm, as can be seen downtown area. It's beautiful, and some of the amenities we've had in recent years. Which is why it's appalling that the city and county would embark on a venture together to take a plan that was abandoned over 20 years ago because it was too close to existing residences and was decommissioned, and now bring that back 20 years later and try to put it on a street that has since been designated, on a route that's since been designated as a residential street. Again, this is 20 years later, we're trying to impart this highway. What's changed? A neighborhood of 150 homes has been built in this area. This didn't exist even 20 years ago when the plan was abandoned. That's the most significant change. And so I think about that and how this violates many of the different things I enjoy about Owatonna, and I think many others do too. Families. Is this safe for families? Is this safe for kids? Does it impart beauty? Does it give the town charm? Especially when maybe we need to put a noise wall in there to abate the safety and noise concerns. Owatonna residents deserve better. If a highway is landlocked against neighborhoods like this, you can't zone for commercial. And we need a lot of amenities out there that we don't currently have today. 34th Avenue is just a half mile down the road. Allows for all proper zoning, some light commercial, grocery store, gas station, some things that we desire in that end of town. Building a highway alongside a residential area like this and landlocking it is short-sighted and will set Owatonna back decades because the funds for this road will not be able to be used for 34th in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Anybody else wishing to make public comment on the highway?
Melissa Zimmerman, 2525 Stony Creek Drive. As an existing resident, I have concerns about the East Side Corridor in this plan. Firstly, safety. A highway 3 feet from toddlers playing and 15 feet from houses is not safe. Next, meeting federal and MnDOT standards for safe noise requirements. This highway, as planned, is encroaching on existing subdivisions and residents. MnDOT studies show sustained increased noise from highway studies leads to shorter lifespans and heart attacks. We need a safe place to live. This is too close. Avoidance is always better and cheaper than mitigations. The main avoidance is distance, which poses the concerns of why weren't alternate studies done in similar format to what we had in 1995. These alternates were just removed from the website. No studies done. This is what we had in 1995, over 200 pages to study the alternates before we studied a single route. Why don't we have that this time? How do we make informed decisions if we don't have accurate information? It's a new project with a new purpose. It shouldn't be built on 30-year-old data. Dating back to 1993, we have documentation that land should be preserved and a road built before encroachment happens. It's too late. We have encroached on that right of way. Without data of other routes, how do we know that there aren't better, safer options to meet our needs? The MnDOT standard right of way is 150 feet. It doesn't exist today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak?
Hi, Adam Workey, 2510 Fox Hollow Lane. I'm also here to talk about the east side corridor and my concerns about that development. The current proposed 29th Avenue definitely seems to be unnecessarily close to existing neighborhoods, kids. Concerns with safety, as we mentioned earlier, sustainability and viability of those neighborhoods to be desirable places for the long term. It just seems like not all the options were considered or fully considered that need to be addressed before making a final decision in narrowing it down. So really request that we look at something further east, something that's safer, sustainable, allows for more development, and a smarter path forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak?
Jeff Otto, 2490 Fox Hollow Lane, and I'm here to express concerns with the east side corridor, specifically the safety and noise concerns, where it's proposed to run so close to existing neighborhoods. I was actually at this meeting 1 year ago, same meeting, same concerns. We've yet to hear a single proposal to address these concerns. It's been a full year. Nothing's been offered to address our concerns, we'll say. And lastly, just wanted to make sure we emphasize that, you know, the two people behind me have been doing a lot of the work at these meetings, and they are representing the whole neighborhood. It's difficult to get here by 5 o'clock or 5:15 after work, and they do represent a whole neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seth?
Good evening, Seth Muir, 2551 Mossy Creek Drive, and just basically to say the same kinds of things with the east side corridor here, just to make sure that everybody understands the awesome dedication of work that Matt Sennett and Melissa Zimmerman have put in, that they're not just the only two voices. Don Winter, my neighbor to the north, Greg and Gary Wissing, my neighbors to the south, my neighbors west across the street and further south as well, all have the exact same feelings. Do we potentially need east side corridor? Yes. But a highway literally in our backyards where there's not enough space left over, that 150 feet of easement does not currently exist. I just think safety is the #1 priority. With then concerns about development on the east side, foresight, and potential mitigation of sound costs, paying back homeowners for loss of home values, lots of things to consider there. So. Yes, east side corridor, please don't put it at 29th Avenue location. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Anyone else in the crowd wishing to speak?
So I wanted to go a little bit different approach on this. I've been listening to these guys at all the meetings. Both
Name and address.
Scott Lindbergh, 422 South Cedar. So I attend the city council and the county commissioner meetings. I've been hearing these stories. 34th Street, you guys got to move it there. I mean, with residential houses. So I live on South Cedar. I bought my house 27 years ago. 28 years ago, they redid Cedar and widened it. Now our house is probably 10 feet from the road. The snowplow comes by 30 miles an hour. If it's a highway, he's going to be doing a lot faster. Our house gets hit with the snow, with it being that close. So if you're talking, the houses are gonna be as close as mine is to the street, that's a danger. I mean, and just with the traffic going by, we hear it all the time. We were dumb and stupid when we bought that house. If I would have knowing about that now, I probably wouldn't have bought the house. I mean, it's bought and paid for now, but, you know, so I hear what they're saying with the dangers and the, you know, with the houses being so close, even though a lot of them are gonna be in the backyards, it's still, you know, the snowplow comes by, it's gonna be throwing stuff, you know, into their yards. You know, trucks coming by on there, kids out there playing, it's gonna be noisy, so. I hope you're listening to them, you know, every time the election comes around, you guys are always saying, we never get people commenting on things, so I hope you're listening to them because they're here every meeting. And I don't ever hear that you guys have had a meeting with them to talk about it, so I hope you're listening to them and move it.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, thank you for your comments. I'm sure Mr. Ilka has made notes, and like I said, we wanted you to come to the podium because now they're all recorded, so. Any other comments from the board?
Chair, I received 7 written comments
Okay.
via email up until 3:55 p.m. today when I came to the first meeting here, so if you'd like, I can read these for the public record too as part of the.
I think that would be good, then they're on public record.
Yes, sure. So I'll step up to the mic too. The first comment that I received was from Don and Sue Mullenbach, 2535 Mossy Creek Drive. Regrettably, we cannot attend the meeting tonight. Please consider using the 34th Avenue location for our new road. Our property will be adversely impacted by the 29th proposed location, as well as our property value and our quality of life. It is a matter of personal safety for us. We would welcome a visit from any of you to actually view the encroachment of the proposed highway. The second email that I received was from Mark Maslinski. Hopefully I got that right. He has also included 30 names on here as part of his correspondence, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. The residents of our neighborhood appreciate your consideration. The new east side corridor should not be built at the currently proposed location that would intersect with East Rose Street, Fox Hollow Lane, and Timberwood Lane. A county highway with a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit intersecting 2 residential streets, Fox Hollow Lane and Timberwood Lane, within 1,000 feet is dangerous for children playing in the neighborhood, for the families utilizing the neighborhood streets, and for drivers flying down the highway at 55 miles an hour. Intersections of a highway that are so close together will make it difficult for drivers to identify hazards and mitigate accidents. This danger is exponentially escalated by the 3rd intersection within 5 blocks, East Rose Street, which at point of intersection is a 45-mile-an-hour highway. 3 speed limits and 3 intersections within 5 blocks is a recipe for disaster. Erecting it in a residential neighborhood is a recipe for injury and death. That was bullet point 1. The second bullet point says, if the new east side corridor must be built at this location, please protect the neighborhood residents and those driving on the new highway by eliminating part of the danger. Instead of making it an intersection, please make Fox Hollow Lane a cul-de-sac. In addition, please create a safety barrier between the cul-de-sac and the highway. A 5-foot tall berm planted with mature evergreen trees should provide protection, a sound barrier, and an aesthetically pleasing backdrop to hide the highway. The next comment, email, letter is from Chad Emberton. I don't see his address on here. It says, to whom it may concern, I hope this message finds you well. I am writing to express my strong opposition to the proposed East Side Corridor Highway. It is important to me that my sentiments are made public. My wife and I have 2 young children who spend a significant amount of time playing outdoors. The prospect of a highway being constructed in our vicinity raises serious questions for us. We are already apprehensive about our children's safety within the neighborhood, and the addition of a potential highway exacerbates these worries. If you have any further inquiries or would like to discuss this matter in more detail, please feel free to reach out to me. I appreciate your consideration and I'm grateful for any efforts to relocate the highway further east from the initially proposed plans. Thank you in advance for your attention to this matter. The next email is from Ryan Copeland. Good morning. Realize no opinion is optimal and you will never make everyone happy. Appreciate what you do and for listening. I live in the Country View development to be upfront, so I have personal concerns about traffic. I have a larger concern, however. This corridor should be able to link with 14 in the future for long-term usefulness effectiveness. The Havana access now to 14 is dangerous and will need to be solved for in the future as seen by the accidents at the current crossing. To me, long-term resources should be directed out to that road to tie into future needs. Looking at the map, the proposed plan does not appear 14 access would ever be feasible. Going out and back a mile or two will only add minutes. The road is in place out by Havana, and it can and is already connected to Highway 14. An east side bypass corridor should link to 14 to make it truly useful. The homes built in the Country View development were not provided sufficient setback, and roads were not designed for that kind of access. The planning approved for the actual development in the past does not appear to have ever taken a major corridor into account, as some have stated. Garages were approved for future road access in the backyard as an example. Homeowners were told the corridor would not go there, which appears to be supported by the approved layout. Again, appreciate your time. The next one is from Becky Dowley. I want to register my adamant concerns regarding the placement of a new east side corridor road. There have been a number of changes in the 20-plus years since this was first brought up as a much less used road. I understand that neighbors were concerned then about safety, and most of them were not nearly as close to that potential east side corridor road as my neighbors and I are today. In those 20-plus years, the North Country neighborhood was built up dramatically. We and our neighbors made decisions to build out here based on feedback that we would not be facing issues with potential future roads being what you're now proposing alongside our neighborhood. The neighborhood is nearly full of homes. It wasn't then. The number of children is substantially higher than it was 20 years ago. While some directions of the city are landlocked, building east is not. We can expect growth to the east. This city should be concerned about safety factors, especially when they are dramatically greater and going to grow. Further, I'm sure that now looking forward 20 years would result in planning to place the east side corridor much further east than what you're proposing. You know, it's Becky Dowley, 960 Country View Avenue. I don't think I said her address. The next one is from Chelsea and Brian Wendell. Hello. We are very concerned about where you are planning to put the road for east side corridor. We have a child with special needs, and thinking about a busy road running on the other side of our street is very concerning to us and his safety. Please reconsider moving the road back further from our neighborhood for the safety of our child and other children in the neighborhood. And the last one is from Brady Beankin. Hello, I currently reside on Stony Creek Drive, and I feel that the road going directly behind these houses is detrimental to the safety of the children and pets up here. I feel like the road needs to be pushed further east to avoid any accidents that may occur if the road is going to be right in our backyards. I also strongly believe that traffic will not obey the speed limit that this road will be posted at, which increases the likelihood of an accident. I sure hope the city can think about the safety of our current generation of Owatonna and realize that saving somebody 2 minutes to get from 26th Street to the new high school is not worth someone potentially losing their life. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Like I said, those are now recorded, so they're on public record as well as everybody else's comments, so. Have anything else to add, Greg? Okay, sure. I just want to thank everybody for making their comments known, and, yeah, go ahead.
Can we have questions at this point, or is this, do we need to close?
I think we can, yeah.
So I've heard varying distances on how far out 34th is. Can somebody clarify for the record how far 34th is? I've heard quarter mile, I've heard half mile.
0.6 miles.
I've heard
From-
3/4. I'll ask the engineer. You clarify, please?
I believe along Rose Street is 3/4 mile from the edge of the North Country Division out to 34
3/4 of a mile?
along Rose. Yeah.
Along where, so basically the backyard.
Right. Up on Dane and 26, I think it gets shorter, but I don't have that.
As it jogs over
Yeah.
to the east. I also heard that there has been no meetings stated tonight. It's hard to have meetings when we don't have all the information. We're still waiting for studies. I think that's been brought up on a couple of occasions. As much as we would like to have meetings and have further dialogue, there just isn't much to dialogue on other than continue to hear what you have to say, and you're being heard. I hear what you're saying. There just isn't much that we can talk about until we get those studies back. We really, and it could very well be that the study comes back and says it's not even feasible here. We don't know that at this point. So I think until we get that back, it would serve all of us well to just take a breath if possible. I understand where you're at. If I lived there, I'd have the same concerns. And I don't want to say this side because it's not us against your sides. That's not how this works. But I think we need to figure out what the true impacts are and approach it from that piece. The other concern is, and I hear this, that we push it out 3/4 of a mile and people are going to use it. I talk to people that live in your neighborhood that say they will not use it. I live 4 blocks from there and I know I won't drive that much further. I'm even questioning if I would drive out that far to go south. And then I'm hearing that, this is needed and 34th is going to be needed at some point. And to connect to 14, and with this piece, that's not going to happen. The state isn't going to allow that. So there's just a lot of questions that we need to sort out and a lot of data that we need to get before we can make comments back. It's hard to sit here at public comment and hear what you have to say without being able to dialogue back. This allows us that opportunity to have this conversation. I understand there was a meeting the other night and that went well. I had hoped to be there, but I have a family medical emergency that didn't allow me to be there. Just know that you're being heard, and this is at least from one commissioner, and I believe I speak for the rest, that we're hearing what you're saying. The balancing act is, how do you serve the whole population? I get that there's an impact, but Greg said there's an impact to it no matter where it goes. That's true. I have farmers that live out there that are calling and saying, don't you dare put that out here, because that's going to impact their property. Now that's going to plow through their farmland and they're going to split parcels. They don't like that. So there's an impact. So no matter where this goes, there's going to be, somebody's going to be impacted. What we have to navigate is what's best for the broader population, everybody that we serve. I think where we would all be best served is if we have to put it there, and if at the end of the day that's what we decide, what can we do collectively to soften the blow, right? And I think it was Veslinski, maybe one of his bullet points. I think he was spot on. If you have to do it, what can we do? Can there be some sort of berm? Can there be trees? Keep in mind, there's going to be a walking path as a buffer also. And I've been adamant about if we have to put this thing within this right of way, we jam this thing as far east as we can and create as much space as we can between the west side of the road and the property lines. I'm not going to say we're going to acquire more property because we don't know the cost or the impact that that's going to have. And it's my understanding there's a fiber optic cable that runs underneath there that you can imagine that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the comment I heard from some as well, in the grand scheme, it's only a couple $100,000. We fight for $50. So, I get it. So just know you're being heard. Just to summarize, just know that you're being heard and that if we can, let's take a breath until we get these studies back and then regroup collectively and figure out what we can do.
I just make a comment. That's basically what I emailed you the other day. We gotta get this environmental study back. Like I said, they may say we can't build it there. We don't know. But until we get that study back, that's why we haven't made any responses, because there's no response to make. And that, to me, is fair to all the citizens at that point. We need to get that first study back to find out what the ramifications are, or what the, they may say, no, you need to move it a little further east. And then we have to bite that fiber optic move, which I think it's AT&T that put that in there. And they're not gonna move it, we're gonna have to pay to move it. And I think they said that's about $300,000 to move that fiber optic line. So, I mean, you're looking at over a $16 million project right now, I believe is kind of the Greg has done a good job of getting some federal funding for it. He's applied for another grant for some more funding for it. But, those things all have to be taken into consideration too. And so we hear you, we really do. But we can't, our hands are kind of tied at this point too until we get that first study back to see what the environmental impact is going to be. Say that 3 times really fast. But so we hope you understand that we're not leaving you sit out there high and dry, but we just have to get that study back before we can make any movement or any decisions. And unfortunately, beyond that, there'll probably be an engineering study that has to go in along the way too. So, with that, is there any other comment for the public hearing tonight?
Can we respond to you guys?
Sure.
You mentioned dialogue, we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put the microphone or?
Yeah, please.
I think our biggest concern is that we don't need answers, we just want to make sure we're heard, and we want to have that conversation in that 2-minute forum. Yeah, it allows us to give you 2 minutes, but that's only the tip of the iceberg of our concerns. We really just want our concerns heard. We would like to have an open conversation with you guys that doesn't say, hey, we're gonna move it out, or we're gonna put in a noise wall. We're not looking for those answers, we just want a conversation. You talk about moving with fiber optic and that being $300,000, I think is what was documented. But building a noise wall is $2 million. So there's costs either way, and that's where our perspective is coming from, that, yeah, it's $300,000 to move that, but there's also exorbitant costs here, plus the cost of affecting the residents that exist. So if there's any way that we could have that open dialogue, I think that would be a tremendous help for both sides.
Well, I think I will give our engineer a lot of credit. I think he's done a really good job of answering the questions that you've asked him. I keep reading all of that stuff.
And it's good to know that you're reading that, because
oh yeah,
there's a whole lot of stuff in there.
It's a lot to read. But I think he's done a really good job of answering the questions that you've asked him. And I understand, I wasn't able to be there, but I understand your meeting went really well the other day. And so, I mean, I think we're doing what we can do.
And we had that same conversation with Greg yesterday, that the communication could be significantly better. And it doesn't have to be, we have answers for you, but like, hey, we posted this new map on the website. This is a proposed option. This is not set in stone. Because when it goes up on that website and we see it, it looks to us that you moved one step forward. We have this new plan, we've got this set route, this is what it's gonna be, but there's no communication to say that that's not, and we learned last night that that route may not be the final option, it was just one discussed.
Yeah.
But without that communication, there's no way for us to know that. So that's the kind of communication I think we're looking for.
Okay, I'm sure he's taking notes.
Yeah, we discussed that last night too. So, I mean, that's the kind of dialogue we're looking for. We're not necessarily looking for, this is the dead set, this is what it's gonna be. Because we understand that you gotta do those reports to know the final answer, but to understand our perspectives too is also important.
Mr. Chair, so I wasn't at the meeting, so it's probably a dumb question, but where did the $2 million noise wall come in?
That is the average cost of a 20-foot noise wall for that distance. I do have documentation of another project similar to that on MnDOT's site right now for that price.
So there's a noise study that says we need a noise wall?
No,
That has, if we need.
if we needed a
Okay.
noise wall,
This is
you
if,
know,
okay. All right, that helps.
you know, there,
I was a little,
kind of like if you have to move the fiber optic lines, it's $300,000.
gotcha. All right, fair enough.
That's it. There's a lot of big ifs here.
Right.
So, but I think this was a good meeting tonight. I'm glad you
I agree.
came. I'm glad we heard everything you had to say. And now you've heard a little bit of what as far as we can go.
Right.
Okay.
Real quick, I just wanted to thank Greg and Scott for reaching out for that meeting yesterday. That was the first time that we were able to sit down, kind of two-way dialogue, which we found very helpful. We're still adamant that 29th isn't the right location, us residents anyway, and we'd like to see 34th. But that meeting was extremely helpful in understanding timelines, understanding what is set in stone, what's not, what's included in the study, what's not. And I just wanted to say thanks for being a part of that, and also James for your being there as well, and then Paul who's not here today for good service. All the best. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I will ask for a motion to come out of the public hearing. I think I have to do that. Okay, and a second? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Let's see, where are we at here?
We have to go back to number 23, the sheriff.
23.
Yep.